name is Kevin. I'm 65 years old now. And this happened when I was 23. About 42 years ago. I still think about that night. Not every day. But whenever December comes around, whenever snow starts falling outside my window late at night, I remember his screaming, and I remember his eyes. It was the winter of 1984. Back then, me and my friends used to go camping every December, no matter how cold it got. We were young, stupid, and thought we were invincible. Didn't matter if there was snow, storms, or warnings on the radio. We treated everything like an adventure. That year, we decided to camp near the mountains around Lone Pine, California. It was me, Carl, John, and Jake. We'd all known each other since high school. Then Jake asked if two other guys could come along. His friend Peter, who was around 22 at the time, and Peter's younger brother Dave, who was 19. More people, more fun, Jake said. So we agreed. I remember that night so clearly it honestly scares me. Outside, snow was falling slowly under the streetlights. Not heavy snow, just soft flakes drifting through the darkness. My television was on low volume while I finished packing camping supplies in the living room. Sleeping bags, lanterns, food cans, ropes, cooking gear, all spread around the floor. Then the doorbell rang. Carl and John walked in carrying bags, stomping snow off their boots. The cold air rushed inside with them. About 20 minutes later, Jake arrived with Peter and Dave. Dave stood out immediately. He was a quiet kid, thin but athletic, dark hair that hung slightly over his forehead, sharp jawline. But the thing everybody noticed were his eyes. Green, not normal green either. Very pale green, almost gray in certain light. John started teasing him while we sat around drinking beer and waiting for the pizza delivery. Man, John laughed, pointing at Dave. This dude looks like some movie actor. Carl looked over and started laughing too. No, seriously, Carl said. I was thinking the same thing. Look at this guy's eyes. Jake rolled his eyes. You idiots already started. But John kept going. Now, seriously, man. You could pull every girl in California looking like that. Dave just smiled awkwardly and looked down at his drink. He seemed shy, quiet, but polite. That was the thing about him. Nothing felt wrong. Nothing felt strange. If someone told me that night that Dave would become the center of the most horrifying experience of my life, I would have laughed in their face. Around 11 p.m., we finally loaded everything into my truck and started driving. The roads became emptier the farther we went. Streetlights disappeared. Gas stations disappeared. Soon it was just darkness, pure black wilderness on both sides of the road. Snow covered the forests and mountains under the moonlight. The headlights only illuminated small pieces of the road ahead while everything else remained buried in darkness. At first we were all loud, laughing, playing music, making stupid jokes, but around 2 or 3 in the morning, people started falling asleep one by one. First Peter, then Carl, then John. Eventually only me and Dave were awake. I remember glancing at him in the passenger seat. His face looked pale from the dashboard light. You should sleep, I told him quietly. He looked out the window for a second before answering. It's okay, he said softly. I'll stay awake with you. There was something about the way he said it. Not creepy, not weird, just distant, like his mind was somewhere else. The road through the mountains felt wrong that night. I don't know how else to explain it. No animals, no wind, no sounds. Even when we stopped once to stretch our legs, the silence felt unnatural. Usually out in nature you hear something. Insects, wind through leaves, owls, anything. But there was nothing. Just cold air and complete silence. I remember looking into the forest and feeling this strange pressure in my chest. Like the darkness between the trees was deeper than normal. Dave stood near the truck, staring into the woods while snowflakes drifted around him. Not moving, just staring. I remember yelling, "Yo, Dave, you good?" He blinked like I had snapped him out of a trance. Then he nodded and got back into the truck. We reached the camping area near sunrise. The first day was normal. Completely normal. That's the terrifying part. We set up tents, gathered firewood, cooked canned beans and sausages over the fire, drank beer, joked around, explored nearby trails. Normal camping stuff. Dave barely talked much, but none of us thought anything of it. Some people are just quiet. As the temperature dropped hard, the cold out there hit different. It felt sharp enough to cut your skin. We all eventually crawled into the tents to sleep. Dave and Peter slept beside each other in one tent while the rest of us were nearby. The first night passed quietly, but the second night, that's the night I still see in my nightmares. I woke up to screaming. Not normal screaming. Not someone yelling after a nightmare. An absolute terror. The kind of scream that sounds like a human being is witnessing something their brain can't process that. For a split second, I didn't even know where I was. Then I heard it again. Louder, raw, animal-like. I scrambled out of my sleeping bag while everybody else woke up panicking. What the hell? Dave? We rushed toward the sound. I still remember the freezing air hitting my face as we opened the tent. Dave was sitting upright on his sleeping bag, screaming so hard I thought his throat would rip apart. His face was pale white, veins bulging from his neck, eyes wide open. Not looking at us, looking past us. Then suddenly he dropped onto his knees. Still screaming. Not words, just pure screaming. He stood up so violently he nearly hit the tent ceiling. And then he started stumbling around. 1 second he looked to the right, then instantly to the left, then behind him, then upward, then directly at the tent wall. His eyes moved so fast it looked like he was tracking multiple things around him, like he was surrounded. I have never seen fear like that on a human face before. Not in movies, not in real life. Nothing compares. Dave, calm down. What's wrong? He couldn't hear us. Or maybe he wasn't even seeing us. He kept screaming and trying to run. At one point he shoved past Peter so hard Peter slammed into the tent pole. The entire tent shook violently. We tried grabbing him. Me, Carl, John, and Jake all together. And I swear to God, that 19-year-old kid threw us off him like animals. Not because he was strong, because he was completely out of control. Pure panic. His body was operating on something primal. I remember grabbing his arm and feeling how cold his skin was. Ice cold. Not normal cold. Like touching metal left outside in snow. His eyes kept darting around the tent. Right. Left. Behind. Up. Like something was moving around him faster and faster. And the screaming. God. That screaming. It echoed through those mountains. 10 minutes. That's how long it lasted. 10 straight minutes of chaos. Then suddenly, he collapsed. Just dropped. Completely limp. Silence filled the tent instantly. The only sound left was all of us breathing hard. Nobody spoke. Nobody knew what to say. Dave just laid there unconscious looking on the ground, his chest rising slowly. Peaceful. Like nothing had happened. None of us slept after that. Not even for a second. We sat there all night staring at him, while the lantern flickered beside us. Every tiny movement made us jump. The woods outside felt different after that. Like the darkness around our campsite had become alive somehow. Morning finally came. Gray cold light crept into the mountains. Eventually Dave woke up. He blinked slowly and sat up. Completely normal. No panic. No confusion. Nothing. We immediately bombarded him with questions. What the hell happened? Do you remember last night? You were screaming your head off. Dave just stared at us. Confused. Actually confused. Then he said something that made my entire body go cold. I don't remember. We all went silent. He looked around at our faces nervously. I'm serious, he said. I went to sleep next to Peter. Then he paused. And now I'm awake. That was it. No memory. Nothing. No injuries. No pain. No sore throat despite screaming for 10 minutes straight. Nothing abnormal. But the rest of us remembered every second. And even now, 42 years later, I still remember waking up to those screams in the freezing darkness. I still remember the way Dave's eyes moved around that tent. Like he was watching something circling him. Something only he could see. We left that campsite later that morning. None of us even argued about it. No one wanted to stay another night. And here's the part I've never forgotten. As we were packing the truck, I looked over at Dave. He was standing near the tree line alone, silent, watching the forest. And for just a second, I swear, he looked afraid to blink.